It's lit. We back.
Demic, what's good, Joe?
Wagwan. You know. Yeah, I'm saying.
It's been a minute, man. You know, we I think our history goes. Let's talk about the very beginning of our history, right?
Right.
We met in college,
Right.
and I was managing the artist at that time. I think you went to high school with him, right?
Yeah, we was making music like from the start, like me and Cash, yeah.
Yeah, and me and you were the business mind on your end. I was the business mind with me and my crew,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then Cash was kind of like that piece in the middle that had that overlap.
Yeah, cause we was making things. He was like he had signed to your label, and I still remember this. I remember like not really having no concept of nothing, and I remember I asked you. I was like, you got a label? Remember? You probably remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I was like, you got a label? And you was like, yeah. And I was like, how you do that? And he was like, I just started it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you was like ahead of us from the beginning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I was a little bit older too, you know.
Yeah.
But we weren't exactly friends, I would say. We were just like associates, right?
Yeah, cause you had got the plug on the Timbs early, and me and Naran was like, we're Timbs for 70 or 75 or 80 or whatever. Yeah. And you was running down to Flemington, and then we're coming back, and then
I left the receipt in the bag.
Yeah, Naran seen it. I mean, but I'm crazy though, cause I remember like you couldn't get my size. So they came, I'm like size 9 or something, and you came back with like 10 and a half, and I was still rocking them. I was like, I paid for these, I will rock them. Yeah. But Naran was mad, he was like, yeah.
Yeah, so we weren't exactly seeing eye to eye. And I hit like
that's how it started.
Yeah, and then there was, I think there was some fear that I was on some Diddy type thing with the artists.
You was Diddy. I remember on MySpace you had the Diddy pic with the shades.
Yeah.
And like a suit, you was suiting up when nobody else was suiting up. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. And then I had a low part in my life. Cass had got incarcerated.
Yeah, I remember.
So I was out of the music, and I was in the mortgage business, and that tanked. And I was just kind of like sitting around, just hustling, trying to make ends meet. And you hit me up. You said, "Yo, I'm about to go to Florida to shoot this music video."
Right, yeah.
You want to come? I'm like, I ain't got no bread. You like, don't worry about it. We just gonna go da. I was like, how we getting? He's like, we gonna drive.
Yeah, we gonna drive.
Like, yeah, we gonna drive to Florida.
Yeah.
I ain't got nothing else really to do. Yeah. So we went down, and on the way there, we got a chance to really that's the first time we really had a chance to get to know each other.
Right.
And then on the way back, he was like, yo, you want to form a group? I was like, rap, me and you? Like, yeah. So then that was the whole Demic in Boston saga.
Right.
And taking flights to Miami with $100 in my pocket, breaking down in Charlotte. We're going to bring ST back, and we're going to do that whole Demic in Boston ST saga, urban background saga. So I don't want to take up too much time on that. But so since the Demic in Boston saga, we really haven't connected.
Yeah, it's been like cause we both was like kind of like it's funny because sometimes I feel like we swap places. You know what I'm saying? Cause before like I said, everybody thought you was the flashy Diddy. Like I'm throwing parties, I'm doing this, doing that, and I was more on some like the system, the this and that. Like I mean this and that, and like now you talk more about the system, the politics. And things like of that nature, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes and then I had the locks, and you had the low cut, and then that was just like
I got the locks, you got the low cut, and you got the gold on with the Gucci and all that.
Right. Yeah. So sometimes I be thinking like that. It's like a whole total flip. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's funny how life does that, man. Totally flipped around. So, I'm just glad that we stayed friends all these years. I think you've been probably the most important friend I've had, and I say that honestly from my heart, because sometimes you hang around friends, like we were just talking on the balcony, your beautiful apartment here, but we were just talking about how like sometimes you get around your friends and they want to talk about girls and they want to talk about other people and complain.
Yeah, gossip.
And we outside talking, trading stock options. And, starting up businesses, right?
And it's always been like that. Like I remember before you used to talk to me about explaining to me how short sales work. in the real estate market when you
Yeah.
had the one dude, I forgot his
Dave.
name. Dave. I don't remember his name,
Dave
but
the
he was a white dude.
Dominazo.
Yeah. And at the time, I remember like, I feel like at the time we used to look at him like, yo, he's doing it
Yeah.
like crazy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I feel like we both got to the point where it's like, okay, like that. You know what I mean? Like we've had those highs and those lows and everything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But we've always, every time we got together, it's always been a constructive discussion.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I love most. It wasn't like, and another thing I love about our friendship is I could go 3 months not speak to you, and there's no love lost. Right. Like, because I know you working, I'm working, you got a kid, I got kids. We busy, we hustling, but as soon as we talk on the phone, it's just like back when we was on tour. Right?
Yeah.
You know, so I love that you're that genuine type person. You ain't dealing with emotions. Like, I ain't here from this dude. You call and check up on me.
I learned one of the most important lessons on how to. This is a little like off, but I learned one of the most important lessons on how to deal with like the co-parenting situation from you. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like no, on some real, like just watching it and just because I had a kid like later after you, so right. I was like, but there's a couple of lessons that you told me specifically that have helped me make sure that my situation never go too far off. So I just wanted to say that before.
I remember I was at the mortgage gig. Dave was my manager at that time. And I got a phone call from you. And this was at a time when me and you weren't even like that cool, right? And you said, yo, I got her pregnant. I said, are you about to have a kid? I'm like, yes. I started celebrating because I was like the only one out of our friends with a kid, right?
Yeah.
And you were like, yo, what do I do? And I'm like, don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. We had I don't remember the specifics of the conversation.
Yeah.
But I remember you having some concern.
Yeah, because you never know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You just never know how it's going to go.
Yeah. So I'm glad at least I had a little bit of a positive.
Oh yeah. Nah, definitely. Like you was just always telling me. Basically, it was more of a because you mentioned the non-emotion, like not too much heights and ups and downs, but it was just like don't be too emotional when you make a decision. Like if you guys are not seeing eye to eye, so you was just always like don't be if they're being like that, don't match it. And I basically always held that in my head in order like how I deal with everything now. You know what I'm saying when it comes to my daughter, her mom, everything like that.
Yeah, I talk about that in my book. You know, a woman might have a certain energy that she brings sort of negativity, and you don't have to feed into that. Right. It's very important not to match that energy. But there's a life lesson that you gave me that consistently goes through my mind, and you called it cliffhanger. Remember that?
Yeah. The cliffhanger. I don't remember like the specifics. I know I was doing a mixtape called The Cliffhanger because I felt like I was cliffhanging. Like basically, like I was saying, like I was never saving bread. I was always putting myself out there in a way that either I sink or swim. You know what I mean? And it is what it is. You know what I mean? But I don't remember like the whole specifics of it because it was a while ago when I was working on that thought. That idea.
And that always stuck with me. You know, it's like. You got to take risks, you got to take chances, and we got to climb this mountain. Either you get to the top of the mountain or you fall and you die, right? But if you ain't ready to die, you ain't ready to live.
Right.
And I just love that because, like I said, it was like Miami, right? And I had $100 literally in my bank account. It was just like, and y'all was leaving, I think, 2 days before me. Right? And we ended up meeting some investor dude with a casino, and he paid for the rest of my stay.
I remember. And all they were from they were like Native Americans. Right. I forgot all about them.
Yeah.
But things happen when you do things.
Right.
It always works out.
That's the thing. We had to do that. We had to take those chances and those risks. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the opportunities that come along with that.
Right. Exactly.
Going to, I think it was the Charlotte show, right? And I told my job, like, yo, I need time off. And he wouldn't give it to me. He said, if we don't give it to you, you're going to be fired. I'm like, well, I'm just going to have to be fired then, right? And that's that cliffhanger mentality, knowing like my girl going to bitch at me. You know, I got kids, I got to make money, but I was still willing to.
Because at the end of the day, like, I think we were just talking about this, like you know that there's a bigger play out there. And I think that same show in North Carolina, like I was starting a job like that Monday. We did the show on Saturday.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson had just died.
Right.
We went out. We did the Michael Jackson tribute.
Yep.
Right. And then the car broke down and all that. Or everything crazy was happening. And then we went to, I think, the Greyhound station. The Greyhound shit, it was closed. We went. We found the car broke down.
Yep.
After the show, so we couldn't get back home. I'm starting. It's on Sunday. I'm starting a new job on Monday.
Yeah.
Right, working at the firm. And then and basically what happened was I think we had like a couple $100. It was me, you, ST, and we got to the airport because ST's cousin said he found some tickets, $98 a piece, 3 tickets. That was the last $300. Yeah. We bought the 3 tickets. I don't know if you remember this. We bought the 3 tickets, got to the airport, went to go check in, and they said that he bought the tickets for the next year.
Oh, wow.
Right? So we got there, and she was like, well, it's nothing she could do. And I was like, well, we had no money. And so I was like, I started blacking out on her. Like, I started getting outside my skin. Like, my soul was in the air going like this. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know what happened, but she gave us our bread back at the airport. I think it was like U.S. Airways before. If they're, I don't even know if they're in business still. Mm-hmm. And we ended up going to the Greyhound, getting on the Greyhound, going up, getting pulled over by the cops on the Greyhound.
Yeah, we're gonna tell the ST story.
They took us to the back room.
We're gonna save ST for that story.
Yeah. I don't want to even
don't spoil that.
Yeah, but it's all of those things that it's like people might have just seen that we were on stage, we had a good show, but they don't know everything that we went through to even get to that, to do that little half an hour set or the hour set or whatever it was. Yeah. It took so much extraness that nobody knows, and it's just like,
yeah. And thinking about that tour, right? Like we start that tour and we're only like a 15-minute slot, right?
Right.
But by the end of the tour, we're like running the show.
Right, exactly. Right? And I always tell people that. I feel like with me, you, there's a few people that I feel like that I know, Drew's like that too, that with all things being equal, we're going to shine and we're going to win. And I always tell people that, like, a lot of times you don't realize who's the better, because a lot of people have so much going for them and so much on their side when you fight against them, mm-hmm. that it looks like it's uneven. But the whole time it's like, well, all things being even, which it is when you get on the stage and you grab that mic, you know what I'm saying? We're taking over shows where nobody knows us, and we're executing a better show than the headliner at this point in time. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you were such a pioneer, right? Like, and a driver. You know, I remember DC. He said, yo, we going to DC for Obama's inauguration.
Right.
And it had started snowing.
It was 2 degrees outside.
2 degrees outside. And I hit you. I said, yo, we still going to DC? And you cussed me out.
Did I?
Yeah, you cussed me out, right? He was like, you bitching up. We ain't quitting. I don't care what the weather like. Yeah. We going. And I'm like, all right, cool, right? Like, and I think this is why the personalities are great, because I think somebody who would have been in my shoes would have got upset and said, yo, I'm not coming. Who you think you talking to like that and all of that? But really, I was like, nah, he right. Like, we ain't quitting. And then
that's how I feel about like that's why I don't plan too much stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm not into like making a plan, because you don't never know what's gonna happen in between. Mm. So like the weather is always something that's a variable. Right. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it's like I expect things to go left. So it's even with the stock market. When you buy the stock or when you trade options, you have to know what you're gonna do ahead of time, because everything that happens in between is gonna throw you off your game. So if you're saying like, I'm gonna hold this till this and this price gonna hit, and then we watch it go like this, you get emotional, and then you want to change the decision. But my thing is like, if we thought it was a good idea to go out to do this inauguration thing, Obama, this is history, by the way. Yeah. I mean, first black prezi ever. Mm-hmm. This is history, and we're living through it. Yeah. It's like, it's cold now, but in 30 years, I want to show a picture. Yeah, I was there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I actually want to be on the ground to experience being there. Yeah. So it's like, to me, it's like, we're not about to change the whole plan because of cold weather. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, That's not about to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm going, like, you know what I mean? Like, let's go.
Yeah.
And I never mean nothing crazy by it when I get it, because a lot of people, it's funny because ST always tells me, he's like, he told me this the other day, he said, I sat there and I let you yell at me. I'm like, I was yelling? I don't even yell. Like, look at this smile on my face. Like, I don't got a yelling bone in my body.
Yeah.
But everybody says that.
You raise your voice. I don't think you yell, but you raise your voice, the tone changes, but you cussed me out. And I was like, well, I guess we go. You know what I mean? Then we said we going. So we got in the car, we went, and we just had your car. We grabbed Tariq, we get down there. We don't have a hotel room, right?
No.
So we had nothing.
We
and
found
we found some girls.
We found some girls in the projects in DC. We've done like everything that should get you probably murdered. Like, we've done it and just said, all right, it's what it is.
Yeah, we went to some strange girl's house. You was asleep on one side of the couch. Yeah. I was on the other side of the couch.
Dudes coming in the crib.
Yeah. Tariq took one for the team.
Yeah.
You know, we woke up the next morning, try to hit that radio station at like 6 a.m., hit it. Right. And did our promo thing. And that was like, and then we did in front of the White House. That was historic, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, we ain't got no PAs. Like, yo, don't care, yo, we gonna rap with our voice. And we rap for a voice, and we got a nice little crowd.
And the thing is, that's what people don't realize. Like, the internet seems to discourage people, because they don't realize, like, when you go out and you actually do what it is in real life, people always show you respect and love for doing it. You know what I mean? Somebody might sit on the internet and look at it as like a visual and say, oh, what is they doing? Or they're gonna have this, because they're not there to feel it. You know what I'm saying? That's such a big thing. Mm-hmm. But I always feel like, when you actually go out there and in real life, people are always gonna support. I sat outside of gas stations with mixtapes back in the day before Spotify and all that, and people will buy it. But somebody will tell you, like, ain't nobody gonna buy it and sit at a gas station. But no, that's big business. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Master P done built his whole empire like that.
Yeah, I remember I ain't had no money, and you was like, I'm gonna print up some CDs, go sell them. And I was like, all right. And I was in Penn Station. Yeah. And I'd go out there and make my $100. Yeah. And I wouldn't leave till I made. Because first of all, I was going out there with, if the ticket was $10, I had $10. Yeah, so I'm not coming back home.
So it's like 110.
Unless I have at least to get the ticket. Yeah, so you had to sell to get back home. Right. And then I want to eat something, right?
And that makes you a beast.
It makes you a beast.
It does make you a beast, because it only gets easier.
Right.
Because then you start to be able to read people. You get the game. It's just like picking up, it's like meeting girls. You know what I'm saying? It's like the more you talk, and you go out there, sometimes you might go to like and I'm not telling on myself, but you know what I mean? Like, you might go to like Memorial Day in Miami, and then you go out there, you got to warm up. You might shoot, to this chick, that chick. You might not even like them, but you got to warm up. So when the one that you like come through, you're already on point with the bars. Yeah. You know what you about to say. You know, and it's the same thing because it's like you're trying to sell something. You know what I mean? So whether it's yourself to a girl, a CD to a fan, whatever. You know what I mean?
You got to develop your pitch. You got to know the right target. Like, I think this person will actually listen to me and give me some time. Knowing who's in a rush and doesn't have time. Yeah, all of that. Vital lessons. So I'm thankful for that part of my life. In fact, if it wasn't for you, I'd still have stage fright. Yeah. You remember the first show we did? You cussed me out again? First show we had was in the city at an open mic, and I forgot my bars. Yeah. I forgot.
Yeah. I think I forgot my bars too, though.
I forgot all my lyrics. Yeah. No, you didn't. You was on point. Oh. We had an acoustic girl, and I forgot my bars. And he was like, "You was too busy talking to that girl over there."
In the city, yeah.
Yeah, but I had caught stage fright, and I wouldn't be the YouTuber I am today. Yeah. I hate that word YouTuber, but I wouldn't be the vocal person I am today and be comfortable in front of cameras and crowds. Yeah. Had we not did all them shows.
Yeah, but you shine so much. I remember when we did the first show in Miami. It's on YouTube still. Yeah, it is. And it was like a moment. It's a moment. I think it's on the YouTube actually. It's a moment, and you was like, you had the mohawk that everybody was. But it's just like. I remember you was just like, yeah, like that. And it was just a moment. And then that show was, you even see all the people in the front row rocking with us and everything. And from that, you basically showed me how to put a show on because I was doing shows, I was doing alright, but then you brought like an entertainment aspect to it on top of that, where you was pointing people out in the crowd, bringing them up, doing more than I was doing. I was going up, calling response regular, you know what I mean, regular. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's crazy to hear because I wouldn't even think that you had a stage fright. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I was formulating things in my head before we went
right.
on stage, and I remember one time he was like, "Yo, you a genius." I don't know what it was. He was like, "You a genius." It's just like sometimes I just get caught in my thoughts. So, you know, and as T said, I was one of the greatest performers he's ever seen.
Yeah, nah, definitely one of the greatest, and that's why even still to this day, and I say that like because a lot of people like we did shows before, we did tours, so there's a difference between a person who could do it regardless and the person who's kind of like relying on their celebrity in order to carry the show. You know what I'm saying? And so you didn't need that. Like you could just, it doesn't matter like who's out there, what stage they put you on, you was gonna execute. So yeah. Now I always say that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
it was developed because you kind of just threw me in the lion's den, and and that's where I really found myself, you know, on that stage. And I remember it was funny because I remember we went to Asbury Park and we performed for a white couple, just literally two people, right? And you was like, no matter what the show is, we're gonna do it. But then that night we performed for over 1,000 people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you were showing me like the impossible things, like when we performed for 30,000 people in Baltimore.
Yeah.
At the arena.
Yeah. And they cut that. And we was doing stuff before the internet was going crazy over the politics. We was doing stuff where we said vote Obama and they cut our mics. Boom, cut. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, we been was doing that and it's so crazy to me to see it now, because if we recorded some of that stuff, it would just be like wow, y'all did that? Or that happened? Like, yeah, that really happened. You know what I'm
saying? Yeah. All of that stuff was just like, if internet had it existed today, even the Obama moment, it would have been huge. But you always just kind of just taught me, like, no matter what, if this is the plan, we execute. And whether 2 people show up or 1,000 people show up, if it rains, Boston, for example. Remember we went all the way to Boston and it rained, everybody got soaked, shoes was wet. Yeah. But we still went and we still networked, because I think we went and had dinner with some people that night.
I think we did. We went to New Hampshire, came back down to Boston, and it rained. That was a good show too. It was like they had like a summer car show thing. Yeah. And a car caught fire in the distance. I remember that. Worcester, yeah. Which is funny because now I Drew manages Joyner Lucas, who's from Worcester. Right. So it's like crazy because I've never heard of this place, and now a lot of Drew's success comes from Worcester, where we had went to do the show and did all that.
And that was one of the most emotionally impactful shows we ever did. The crowd wasn't that big. I think maybe 50 people max. And it rained and we just took off our shirts and was just performing.
We brought the whole front row on stage. Yeah. And we was dancing with them.
Mad love. And it was all white crowd and we performing hip hop. You would have expected that wouldn't have happened, but they showed us mad love.
Yeah, in real life, it's all like I said before, in real life it's never what you would think. Like, that's why I don't get too deep into what's going on the internet when everybody hate each other and this white person, this black person, this Spanish person, they all beefing online. But in real life, it's not really like that. You know what I mean?
Let's switch gears. Let's talk the difference between us and our parents' generation. Mm-hmm. You know, not specifically our parents per se, but our generation versus our parents, who be just on the balcony talking outside about how everybody they think buying a house is an accomplishment. Right. And they think that graduating from college is an accomplishment, and this is the way. Yeah. Right? And taking $40K and giving it to a bank where you could have took $40K and, like, would you say
Yeah, like I would rather go start a business than buy a house. So if I would rather do a lot of things than to buy a house, honestly. I mean, but and I don't want to knock the house thing. I just think like we're talking about opportunity costs at that point. Right. So it's like, what can you do? You got $40,000 for a down payment on a house, but what can you do with that 40 that's gonna grow it even more than the house? And the other thing, like Grant Cardone, the dude, the YouTube guy, and he said, and he always says like, the house is still a liability because you're not. It's not like you. It's not like I'm talking about a single family home now where you got like three
duplex or
like,
something.
yeah, three families in there, and so like you're basically living free because the other two are paying the mortgage. We're talking about a house for yourself. A single family house is a liability.
Right.
When someone breaks, you gotta still fix it. And then you took your $40K that you could have took and put into a business. You could have started. My mom's like, I remember she was trying to start a business, and that was about the cost that she needed to start the business that she ended up starting, that got her to be able to quit her job and things like that and run her own business. So it's just like, I feel like if you do have 40K, 30K, start something that's going to bring you consistent income rather than throw it in a house. You got this house, everything's breaking, but you're just so happy about it. I just don't get it.
Yeah, cash is king, and I think it's all about cash flow, right? Like creating something that creates cash flow. The house isn't good. The single family house isn't going to create cash flow. But it's a great point you said. Like even as far as it being a liability, forget breaking. You have to maintain this house.
Maintain, yeah, right.
You know, like the shingles or the siding is going to have weather. It's going to get weathered, and you're going to have to take somebody to come out power wash. You have to paint the house, the
maintenance,
roofing, the maintenance, all of that stuff. You know, you're going to have to upgrade this house. Technology gets better, so the old air conditioning unit you got in the back, going to have to be replaced.
Right.
Like this thing is definitely a liability. So when people say, "Oh, you know, we bought a house," I'm like, "You bought a liability."
Right. But even equity. So people talk about equity all the time. Well, you know, you get equity in the home, but like, let's talk about what equity really is, right? Okay. Equity is a loan. It's a loan. So basically, it's an easy way to get a loan. But it's just like, so your house, you bought it for $300. Now it's worth $350. You got $50,000 equity in the home that you can grab. But what is equity? It's $50,000 loan that you still owe the bank that you have to pay back, and now they refinance your mortgage so that instead of $300, now you owe $350. So you're still paying back. So people talk like, I feel like a lot of people talk like equity is like some type of free money that you just get to just have $100,000 out of nowhere. But no, it's a loan. Yeah. It's still interest rate on it. Yeah. And I just feel like a lot of people talk about equity, but they don't really talk about what it actually is. You know what I'm saying?
I think before you put money on the house, you need to go and take a look at that amortization table, right? Take the best interest rate you can buy, put 30-year, in there, and look at that amortization table and see how much, you took the loan out for,
right?
And how much you paid back.
Right.
Usually
exactly.
It's like you get a $400,000 house, and after 30 years, you're paying $900,000 back.
Right. And I looked at something the other day, and it was basically saying it was comparing renting for the same amount of years, like as a mortgage, and then who actually made more money or who actually made the better decision based on the finance. And it wasn't as far off as you would think, you know what I mean? And of course, it's a crazy variable because the person who was renting took that down payment money and put it in the stock market, right? Just like I was telling you earlier, if you have a house, let's say you put 10% down on a house that costs $400,000, and that's $40,000. If you would, let's say like you would have bought the house in like the year 2001, 2002, and you would have put it in Apple stock, and I think at that time Apple stock was probably like $18 a share or something like that. I could be way off, but I've done this math already. But if you would have put your now that $400,000 house, let's say it's a decent neighborhood, it increases in price to $600K. You know what I mean? So now over that, we're in the year 2020 now. Over that 20-year time, you've made $200,000 when you try to sell that house back. But if you would have put that $40K into the stock market, it would have turned into $10 million by now.
You made $10,000 a year.
Yeah, well,
that's what that is. $200,000 over 20 years.
Right.
$10,000.
So it's not a. So now it's just like you took that money and didn't put it into something that actually grows the most. And people don't. I feel like they're not thinking that money is supposed to actually grow for you and do other things for you. So sometimes it's not the smartest move to buy something. Sometimes if it's going to take that money away from something else you could have did with it, like start a business into the stock market and do things like that, then it's just, you know.
I mean, you figure if you're gonna make $10,000 a year off this house, that was a liability that you were paying into along the way. You really didn't make that $200,000, but let's say that's what you think you made. But you took that same down payment
because you also been doing maintenance the whole time that you're not gonna get back
taxes.
Taxes,
all of that
fees. You already know the realtor fees.
Yeah, your lawn, carry, all of that, right?
Yeah.
But then you look at some of these people who are taking that same $40K and putting it into a business, and their businesses are making $10,000 a month.
Right, exactly.
A week.
Yeah.
A day.
Yeah.
Right.
I was talking to my boy not too long ago. He owns trucks. Okay. So he bought a truck for like $15K, and then he had another $15K, and he was gonna buy, and he had a house too, a 3-family house. So the 3-family house, I think the mortgage is like $2,000 a month, and then $1,000 for each family that lives on each floor, right? So he's making $1,000 a month from that house.
Okay.
Plus he's been having to go to court to when people don't want to pay and all that. And I don't want to make that too long, but basically he had another $15K. He had the $15K that he put into the truck, that the truck makes him $1,000 a day, right? So he's making like $25,000 a month off the truck. So I was like, why would you if you're gonna, so now you have another 15 because the first truck made you that money. Why would you not double up on trucks instead of going to like buy a second house? Yeah. Like, what's that about? Like, what? Like, it's because like people just the culture is so tied up into thinking house is the only way, is the only smart investment. Yeah. College is the only smart investment. That they're not thinking bro, you making $25K off this truck. You're not gonna make $25K a month off of no house that you buy. And another one, you know what I mean? You're talking about $15K down payment. You're talking about really a house that needs a lot of work, or is it a bad area? So you're not really gonna, you know what I mean? So he ended up getting a second truck, you know what I mean? And he's been doing well with that. But just the fact that I even had to say that to him was to me mind blowing, because it's just like, you don't see that. You know what I mean? Like you don't see that. And another thing is with college, I going to school, and I feel like I don't.
You're somebody. Let's just preface and say you're somebody with a master's degree.
Yeah. I have three different degrees. I got associates, bachelor's, and masters. Right. That's good that you say, because I know everybody probably say he didn't go. He trying to justify not going to. Right. Now I went to school, a couple times, but the thing is, like, you just know I don't have to be like outside of something to know when it's not that, okay, this ain't the way. Right. You know what I mean? And the older you get, the more you just see that, okay, that was never the way. You know what I mean? And I'm just talking because I've been basically having to unlearn everything that was taught to us over the beginning of your lifespan. And I'm not blaming nobody, because everybody who's teaching you something is trying to help you.
Intentions were pure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that's where they get you though, because like, let's say your parents are telling you to go to college because their intentions are pure, but when they're marketing it to, it's marketing, right? So they're marketing it to your parents. We're going to get the kids by marketing it to the parents. So now the parents is going to pressure. So now you have 90% of the college walking around saying, I'm just here because my mom wants a degree. Yeah. The thing that's going to make her the happiest is if I get a degree. Yeah. And like Kanye said, man, long ago, I mean, 3 years in here, ain't picked a career. Might as well stay down here and do here. You know what I mean? Like that whatever that song was. But mad people's in college. First of all, don't go to college for nothing that's not basically at this point what we call essential jobs, right?
I say law, engineering, doctor.
Yeah, things that you can't get past it, like the certifications. Right. You know what I mean? The other thing I want to say too is, like, people always talk about teachers don't make a lot of money, but teachers make a lot of money. And the problem is working for somebody doesn't make you a lot of money. So if you teach a course online, your own course, you're banking, you're making crazy bread. You know what I mean? Some of the most popular entrepreneurs that you see online are basically teachers. They're selling you a course. Yeah, they're selling you a course, $29.99. They get 10,000 people to buy it. That's already like 290,000 right there. You know what I'm saying? That's just 10,000 people. And these guys have how many sales? 200,000 sales, 300,000 in sales. So they're making good money. And then while that's happening, they're working on another course, part 2.
Yeah. Shout out to Thaddeus Russell. He